Welcome to Return on Life. I'm back again with my partner Sebastian. Sebastian, welcome.
Hey, Peter. Good
So
to
a
be
bit of a
back.
cheeky title today.
Yeah.
Lotteries and life insurance are the same. Uh, what hits you in your what comes to mind when you hear a title like that?
Yeah. Great question. The first thing that jumps to my mind is how many people play and they're hoping and praying that this is going to be the numbers so that they could, have this huge windfall.
Right. So and we see it out these days too, right? There's a lot of sanctioned like sports gambling, all that kind of stuff too,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You're trying to get ahead through these other ways, and it's definitely, I'd say, can be entertainment, but maybe not a plan per se.
Yeah. And I think you're right about the entertainment aspect is you set aside an amount and it's just, yeah, it is what it is. Blow it away. It's not something that's going to make or break you versus, the opposite side where it's like, oh, you're hoping and praying. You're putting out hundreds of dollars a week on these lotteries or these bets.
And so before we go deeper into that part, there are two areas where I'd say they're very similar, right?
Hmm.
So when life insurance pays out and when a lottery pays out, you get a big windfall, right?
Yeah,
Depending on whatever size of that lottery pot is, or whatever the size of the death benefit of life insurance. Pays out, but it pays out tax free.
absolutely. It's tax-free windfall. And you know what? You bring up an important point is all of a sudden you've got a million more, even more, whatever that number is. You're right. Is how do you manage it when all of a sudden that hits your hands?
And so that becomes, so the similarities are this tax-free windfall, but then also the similarity to both is, how many people have you heard that have won the lottery and then lose it all within a couple years?
Oh yeah, there's I think every lottery winner has gone down that road where they've come into this huge windfall and then a few years later they're penniless.
But the same thing can happen with life insurance too, right? You get a big windfall.
Yeah, and but as an advisor like yourself knows, there's mechanisms that you can put in place. For instance, you've got a beneficiary that's someone that's young. They don't need to have the full amount paid out. It can be paid out incrementally. So there's mechanisms that you can put in place for sure. Whereas a windfall in the lottery, there is no mechanism. You get paid out and you get paid out, and that's it.
Yeah, in either way, so you want to have some form of plan.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that, as a life license advisor, something I'm very conscious of. For sure, you're building something for a family to potentially pass on to next generation, or something that really helps a business that may have, um, like maybe when the partners dies or whatever that may be, some kind of succession planning. It fits a use case, but it's all about that plan and making sure that you give people options.
Yeah, 100%. Um, and that can go in a multitude of ways too, just to solve the need. Because usually it's like a need. What's the need? Why do we need this amount of coverage? And what do you intend to do with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And so when I'm dealing with, I don't know, say a business owner, what is kind of the you know top use cases where this could potentially work? These types of windfalls, thinking from necessarily winning a big winning, but what purposes can it serve?
Yeah. So in a business situation, you've got a key employee. That's the first one that kind of hits the thought processes. You put the insurance in place that something happens to that key employee. There's an infusion of cash to the company, but then it's what's that cash going to be used for? Hire another employee that would replace the one that's no longer there that unfortunately is passed on or whatnot. So that could be one. Buying out partners could be another. Um, and even as a retirement strategy too. So it could be a recruitment. You want to attract the best talent, and we know this in the tech space. There's all kinds of incentives that you have some sort of ownership stake in the form of shares. Well, you could utilize insurance in that space as well to use that as an attraction and a retention tool.
And in a course for a family, it would be a case where someone passes, then it may pay down the mortgage, may do other things that take care of. Yeah, I guess taxes that come with that, capital gains, those types of things for family, allow them to sustain it going further down the road. And so I think that's part of it. Part of this point is too is that like I guess we'll get to the lottery piece beyond that, but also to know that life insurance you can use now, right? It doesn't have you don't have to die to get ahead, right? It's definitely something that you can use now and still take care of the future as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think, okay, oh, it's when I die, when I'm 100 years old, that's what it's for. But no, you're right. It's there. There could be a multitude of things that you could utilize the insurance for. So it's really not what insurance is, but what can insurance do for you?
Right. And it's so key is to have the right structure. I know there's a lot of misconception out there about it just being another bill
Yeah,
and something that you an expense that you have to pay out perpetually. But if you structure it based on your specific needs, it can be a source of capital, liquidity for you to use now, but then also to take care of some of those use cases that we talked about in the future. But now in the future can be all part of that whole needs analysis for sure.
yeah, and you know what too is like, and this is gonna sound a little bit, morbid, but you're setting it up now, and you're hoping that the worst is not going to happen to you, that you're going to live a long life, but eventually we're all going to leave. So it does serve a purpose down the road now when that day does come of, you speak about the capital gains aspect, making sure that remember when we were talking about the net, your net worth is not your net worth, to bring that back into play. There's so many things that he can do in the planning scope when you're no longer here.
Yeah. So the lottery is like you said, it's hoping to win to get ahead. Life insurance, um, you know, beyond some of that which you talked about, is really locking in, to your point, the net worth or locking in your winnings.
Yeah,
That's pretty, and so this is part of our discussion, just to like open people's minds to, like this is not the one solution that you need to have as your sole form of, you know, financial growth or where we're trying to get to. But man, what an amazing addition to whatever you're doing financially.
yeah, and I like the fact that you bring it up too. Is think about it, and I think people can relate more to the fact that I'm going to get a windfall in the lottery. Okay, now what happens? What's the planning that you've done to make sure that you don't blow it away, so to speak? And that can work with a windfall in a lottery situation or in life insurance.
And it can work for literally everybody. You don't have to be wealthy to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, Sebastian, I think that's kind of good. The point of this was really just to have a quick conversation on, how we think about things, and maybe this gives a refreshing view to how you could potentially use life insurance and whatever you're doing financially.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
I like when you brought it up. Windfall of lottery and insurance made you think about a couple of things, right? But the parallels are there.
for sure, for sure. All right. Well, that's for this week. How can people get in touch with you?
LinkedIn or sgrag at equitable.ca.
Okay. All right. Very good. Myself as well, LinkedIn as well, or Peter at returnonlife.ca. That's it for this week. Thanks again, Sebastian.
Thanks, Peter. Take care.